Hello, this is Panda Consulting's ArcGIS workshop. I'm Frank Conkling, and today on this workshop, we're going to look at using CAD files to create parcels inside the ArcGIS parcel fabric. If you're not in the parcel fabric yet, stick around because we're still going to talk about using CAD files inside of Pro, but we're going to show you also some of the benefits of moving into the parcel fabric. Now, before we start, just again to let you know, down in the lower right corner is a QR code which takes you to Panda Consulting's website, tells you who we are, what we do, why we do it, how we do it, everything you need to know, including at the very bottom of the first page that you get to is a link to sign up for our monthly newsletters. Please do that. We include everything from tips and tricks to links to actually attend these workshops live to links over to our blog posts and all sorts of interesting things. So please go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter. In the meantime, just real shortly, Panic Consulting is an ESRI business partner. We have been for over 27 years. We are the first business partner in the United States to receive the parcel management specialty designation, focusing on the parcel fabric. We also have release ready specialty and the state and local specialties. All right, so let's get started. So what are we going to do today? Our topics, the main topics that we're going to cover today are going to be the CAD file, taking a CAD file into Pro, what you want to look at, how you want to go and do it, and how you want to proceed from there. And then importing and selecting the lines to be used to generate your parcels. And then inside the parcel fabric, constructing the parcels themselves. And then this is a real important one. Once you get it in there, the odds are that your CAD file and your parcels don't match up. How do you adjust them? How do you figure out how to do that? And then finally, we're going to look at some additional quality control to help us with that. All right, so let's start with the parcel fabric. Actually, this is ArcGIS Pro. Doesn't even need the parcel fabric yet, but this is ArcGIS Pro. And over in my table of contents, I can see in my folders, I actually have a drawing file. This is an AutoCAD file, a DWG file. And when I open it up, it will show me all the various types of geometries that are included in there. Annotation, multi-patch, multi-point, point, polygon, polyline, and text points on here. The first thing you always want to do before you do anything else with a CAD file is to right-click on that CAD file and look at the properties of there. This will show you the properties of what's set in the CAD file and what's on there. It'll give you just a general overview or preview of it. There's the element you want to look at specifically is if you go at the validate position, you will see that in this case, there is no coordinate system assigned. And you'll find that probably at 95% of CAD files that you get. They don't specifically assign coordinate systems. They use an assumed coordinate system, which might be a projection, but you have no way of knowing and verifying it. So with ArcGIS Pro, you can actually go and tell it you want to assign a coordinate system if you know and verify what it is, and it'll give you an option to go and assign that. In this case, I'm going to do it without. By the way, thank you, Chris. I'm reminding those of you who are in attendance here, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat window. Chris is moderating them, and he will monitor that and let me know whether I've missed any questions or anything. I want to make sure I take care of those of you that are attending. It's very important. So again, when you open, first thing you do when you get a drawing file is go and open it, right-click, go to Properties, and validate the position. Is this where I think it is? There's also a geolocation here, which talks about this coordinate system, whether or not it's defined. You can define something in here also, same way. In this case, I'm going to assume, and that's always a problem, I'm going to assume that, in fact, this is on the same coordinate system as my data. And then what I can do is I can take that CAD file and just right-click on it and say, add it to my current map. When I do that, it will go and appear as a group layer. And that group layer will have, again, those different geometry types. So we'll have annotation, point, multi-point, polyline, polygon, and multi-patch. And when I turn it on, this is what I see. Not real helpful for us. So I can quickly go through here and say, well, let's turn off the annotation. Let's turn off the points. I really don't need those. Multi-points, I don't need those. Multi-patches, I don't need that. I can turn off the polygons, and it gives me a whole series of the lines, just the polylines in here. And I can see that it's got everything from a grid that they went and put notes in here to your scale bar. Those are all different types of lines. If I look and open up that polyline, expose that polyline feature class and look through it, this is the layer structure that I get. And often we have no idea what these things are. So we sort of start fumbling around and seeing how can we find specifically the lines that we want. So here's my first tip is that rather than going and bringing all of these in, because even though you might not be displaying it, it's still loading it in. What I often do is I will go and not bring the entire DWG in, but I'll go over here and open it up and look at the different geometries, and then I'll go to the polyline and I'll right click and say add that to my current feature class, and I'll wind up with something like this. It has the same layer structure in here and everything that I need in here, but I don't have to carry around all the points and annotations and everything else. Just as a note on here, when I do this, it will allow me to see all the different layers that are in here, whether or not they're hidden, what type of, what the colors are and such on here. And I can sort of pick through here and figure out, well, what do I need and what do I not need? Some of the ways to do this is you can do an identify on here. And you'll note on here what I've done because I'm going to be working with this. I've actually gone through and done a definition query where I told it that I'm looking where the layer, the name of the layer is like or includes lots. And it also turns out that they've put some lines on other layers. So I had to go through and figure out exactly what layers were needed for this. And it turns out that it's lots, or there's a layer that's got some boundary lines on there. And I needed both of those. So that's often a better way to do this, to open them up and just look at the actual lines and try to do an identify and figure out what layer is that thing on, and is that really what I want for here. Once I've got them selected, by the way, if I go and do a select here, I've got a red line here, and I know that's not what I want. I'm going to unselect my parcels, go over here to my identify and say this actually is on the boundary layer. But if I turn the boundary layer off, I lose some other things in here. So I'm going to have to unselect that as I'm going through on here. All right. That's also on my lots layer. So it's not actually clean what I'm having here, but it's better than what I have. So these are the lines as far as what I'm bringing in. And if I look, again, I turned them off and I turned them on, just do a quick comparison. It's pretty close to where it is as far as the current location of it. If I really wanted to do something and if I knew exactly where this was supposed to be, I might do a georeferencing of that CAD file, which is 2 points to let it fit better. But in this case, I'm just going to leave those lines and assume these are the lines that I need and they're in the right location, even though I can see, well, these points don't match up. There's points here that don't match up. This road frontage isn't correct. And there's lines, this goes way over where it was before. It's all right. I'm going to assume that this is the correct location and going to make that assumption and know that's how I want to adjust things from this point forward. All right, CAD files, bring them in. You want to identify where you could go in and which layers you need in here. I just note that in the chat window, um, uh,
Yes.
ArcMap used to have a dialog where you could turn CAD layers on and off. It's not available yet in Pro on here. So it is basically just you want to go and set this up and then individually go through and identify those lines as you go through and see if there's a better way of doing it. I think it's a good idea. Maybe somebody should put that up on the idea forum to get them to rewrite that and apply that to Pro. If you're using CAD files, it's a good idea to go and do that. All right. So I now have my lines and I can go and right click on here and do selection and say select all of those lines. And it's going to give me all the lines in my current, in the layers that I've got turned on with my definition query. I can go in there and unselect them, and you'll see me do that in a minute here, the ones that I don't think I want. But I can go in here. Once I've got my definition query set for that, I've got it set and I'm comfortable with that. So that's CAD files inside of Pro. Again, there's, depending upon what you want to do, you want to make sure it's the correct coordinate system, make sure it's in the right place. And if it's not in the right place, you can always go and select on that, and you can do a georeference on that CAD file to make it fit the way it should be, or at least close enough to be what it can be. All right. All right. Let me switch now into the parcel fabric because I'm really going to go and create this in the parcel fabric. I have my heads up display here and I can say, let's go and create a record for me. And this is Chapel Hill Plat, number 2. All right, and I can just tell it that it's a subdivision of things and I'll go and create that record. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the parcel fabric is recording the things that we create in here, the things that we use and such, and it's actually going to go and relate everything back to the record. You might look at some of our older YouTube videos to see that. So let's take our CAD file and select all of the lines inside of here. Select all lines in here. And then we can start unselecting the ones that we think that we do not need. So I can zoom in here and I can say, okay, I'm going to hold down my control key and say, I don't need that. I don't need that. That's not part of my parcel. That's not part of my parcel. Let's go over here. These are not part of my parcel. That's not part of my parcel. This is not part of my parcel. I know that this is not part of my parcel and that's not part of my parcel. I believe this is my parcel now that I've got on here. So with the record created, I can go in here into my parcel workflows and I can say copy my lines that I have selected, copy the selected lines into parcels. And I can copy them into my parcels. What it will do is it will go and take and copy them in as parcel lines. You can see these were now copied in and created as parcel lines. It still has the non-parcel fabric layers being displayed. So at this point, I can go and I can turn that off. It is actually only displaying those things that are associated with this current record. It's not displaying everything in the background, just what's in this current record. And that's useful to ensure that I can tell whether or not it's creating parcels. Well, it turns out, in looking at this, there was another parcel here, another line that I did not need. So I can go and take and select that line and delete it. And then I also have an extra seed. A seed is actually a test to see whether or not the lines form a closed polygon. In this case, I'm going to take that out so it doesn't build that as a new parcel when I tell it to build it. It is checking to see whether or not all of these lines form closed polygons. So when I go and check at a line and look at a line, I also look and I recognize, okay, this is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and select the lines in here. I'm going to select all my lines and I'm going to update the COCO values on them because right now, all it did was copy over the geometry on those. So I'm going to run a tool called Update COCO inside of here, COCO, Update COCO. And it will take my selected lines and update both the distances and the directions on all of them for all of those lines, and it gives me all of those on here. Now, the interesting thing is if I go back here to my attributes, if I look at these lines, inside the parcel fabric, not only is it storing the COGO values, and these are now numeric values, these are double precision numeric values that are storing, but it also stores a component called COGO type. Where did this COGO value come from? In this case, because it came from the geometry of the CAD file, it's noting that this was from geometry and it is inversed, or it probably shouldn't be relied upon. There are three options for COGO lines. There's entered, meaning that as the mapper, you entered it and you can rely upon it. From geometry, meaning that it was inverse and it came from the geometry of something and not necessarily, you can't automatically rely upon it. Or computed, meaning that there was a value there and it was cut or split or some other action changed those values on there. Now, if I had the actual plat in front of me, I would go and compare these values to see what's actually on the plat. And if in fact these values were exactly as it's shown on the plat, the bearings and the distance, I could go and take these and say, well, these are actually as I would have entered them. And you'll note the labeling actually changed because it said now these are what's reflected on the plat. So you can use and you can rely upon them as you move forward. I'm going to leave them as entered, even though I don't have the plat in front of me. Just remember, when you're taking the geometry from the CAD file and pasting it in, it's using the actual drawn geometry. It's not using any pieces of text that might be stored next to it from the CAD file. It's actually using the geometry. Another thing, and if you notice, I actually went and selected some of those lines in there. I did not go and have to split these lines into COGO. If in fact this CAD line had been coming all the way through here, there's a tool inside of here that allows you to go and take selected lines and split them up so that at every vertex, it will go and make it a separate 2-point line and calculate the COGO for them. Again, another tool that's available when you're dealing with CAD lines on here. So I now have all of my lines copied and pasted in here, and I've got seeds telling me these will form closed polygons as I go through and create these. So my next step in the parcel fabric is to say, go ahead and build my record. Now, what build record does, just to explain this, is that build record goes and looks at my active record here, takes the global ID and says, find all the lines and seeds that are in my feature class and see if you can build them as individual polygons, taking those seeds and expanding them out, creating full parcels for me. And when I look at my attributes, I now have my parcels automatically identified here. All right. So now comes the part that's a little bit more challenging. Now what we have to do is we have to go and make these fit. In this case, I'm going to go and I'll make an assumption and say that my new CAD file is in a better position than my existing data. So I'm going to fix and adjust or align my old data to fit my new CAD file on here. And the way you do that is there's a tool called Align Parcels. And Align Parcels says go ahead and look at everything within a tolerance. This is a tolerance, in which case I've got 15 feet of tolerance in here. And what that's going to do is that's going to go and look at all points within 15 feet of existing points as part of my, let's go and turn these labels off. So it's going to look at other points within that tolerance and snap them to where they should be. And then use those points to figure out where it is. And if I'm looking through here, I'm like, well, there's points here that don't look like they fit. Something I just realized when I went in here. When I went and copied all those over, it actually inside the CAD file that was on those same layers, and I didn't see it because I was zoomed out too far. There's lines. This line here, this line here. Those lines that were used for symbology in the CAD file to show where those corners were, I brought them over when I selected everything on that layer that matched and brought it over. If I were doing this again, now that I know it's there, I would delete them also when I was bringing them in, or I would unselect them. Now what I have to do is I have to go in and delete them from here. So in this case, I'm going to pick on that point and that line, this point, this point. Just do it this way. Like parcels, I can get off of that. I can say, let's go and select here, unselect this and unselect this and unselect this. So I just have those elements in here and delete them. And you know what? That's on every single one of those. By the way, just to remind you, one of the things that I do is when I'm doing demos, I'm going to show you all the problems that you're going to have. Again, this is the types of things that when you're bringing CAD files, um, and I can say this, I'm a surveyor, but boy, I wish that drafters would not do this. This just makes it so horrible for the rest of us. I understand why they do it, but boy, it's a challenge. And either that or put it on a separate layer. Put it on a layer that we don't have to um, deal with and delete this. So while I'm doing this, is there any questions or anything?
Nothing in the chat immediately.
Okay. I just want to make sure that. Yeah, you can tell this was not something that I pre-tested, and I want to make sure that it looks real easy because these are things that you're going to have pop up for you. And all the way around here, and I can tell you delete. Surprised no one's asked me yet. Well, what harm or what damage does it do if that's in there? Um, what it winds up doing is it winds up putting extraneous information into your object, into your database that really are not they're not necessary. They're cartographic in nature, and you want to try to have as clean a database as possible. Let's go and do it this way. Made all those. Here. I think I've got it. So I went and as part of this, maybe not. There we go. All right. So I deleted some points in here and such. So one of the things I want to do is I want to make sure again that I'm on here. Let's go ahead and build this again. And what it will do is it will go and actually put those points that I deleted, it will put them back in. Build actually looks through the topology rules and make sure that everything that needs to be done there from a structural standpoint. Everything that needs to be done is in fact built correctly. And when I'm looking at this, I'm using this as a way to check. I see this line. Remember I mentioned multi-part lines or polylines in here. If I look at that line, that's a polyline. That's not an actual single CAD line. So let me go and use that other tool I talked about, split into Coco lines, and tell it to go ahead and split that. I now have two lines there. Let's go and build this again so it does build that that point there. All right. So I think we've got everything everything I need here. So now again, adjustments. If I go back and I do, okay, split here, note I can say, look at my active record. It will take my active record. And the first thing I want to do is, by the way, this is 3.6. So it has this interface is a little different than it used to be. This first thing is move in within. This is looking for points to see what points are within this same area, and it's going to go and adjust them. And if I look, I've got a whole collection of points here, and I want to go and adjust this. Um, so I don't know whether I'm going to be able to do that very well. Secondly, as I'm moving through, I note, well, I actually, this point here is supposed to come up here. I've got some cleanup that I have to do here. So before I even get into using this Align Features tool, I'm going to do some cleanup instead. And I'm getting it off of the Align Parcels tool and look in here and say, okay, in here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points that appear to be either some sort of earlier symbology or something. Inside the parcel fabric, there is a tool called, under the quality tab, called Merge Points, in which I can go and select, and it's only allowing me to select points now. I can select points and tell it where to merge them all into. So I could say, maybe I wanted to merge them all into two, and you can see the difference that it will make as far as this. When you're merging the points, it will take everything connected to those points, your lines, your polygons, and everything, and correct that location. And I can tell it which of these I want to use as I'm doing this. In this case, I'm going to move them all into point number one, and it'll go and correct those all. It also then goes and aggregates all of those COGO distances that I might have there. So it was a way for me to very easily clean up the quality of the data that I have on here before I actually do any sort of alignments. Also in here, I can see I've got these two, and maybe I'll move them to one. I also might want to go and do these two and move them instead to two here. So it goes and recorrects that. Now I want to go in and show you something that's often, if I were to go and draw a box here, in which it has all of three of these, what I can do is I can go over here to my list and say, no, there's three. I don't want three. Matter of fact, I don't even want three included in here. I'm going to tell it to remove three from my list and merge it into two. So that a way to go and use that tool to be a little bit more efficient in what we're doing here. All right, I think we're fine here. So now I'm going to look at this and say, okay, let's see if I could do some of this. Oh, I just noticed something here also. Another one here. Let's go and merge those where that's one to make it easier and clean those things up. All right. Now I'm going to do some massive adjustments before I get to my aligned features because I know some of these are going to change. So this here, all right, what I'm going to tell it to do is I'm going to take this point, I'm going to take this point, and even that point and move it to the new point. Well, that new point is actually the CAD file is what I want to move that to. So I'm going to tell it move all over to that point there. All right. And let's go in and have it make sure that that's also in there again. All right. So here, this corner is supposed to be the same as that as shown on the CAD file. So I'll go in here and I'll say, go ahead and move this over to 2 and let it do some of that for me before I get into some of the other elements inside of here. Now that I've cleaned up this corner, I can tell it to go and take and move them all over to 2 and do it that way. And the reason why I'm doing this is that some of these corners that I was looking at were outside the tolerance and were problematic for what I was doing. I can now take these 3 and say, move everything to 3. That's where that CAD file was. And yes, I know I can do a lot of this inside of the shape or inside of the aligned parcels tool, but you'll often get into situations where it's not that easy to do it inside of there. And it's almost better just to go and do it um, on the ones that are really outside and make it easier for you. So let's clear this out. Now, let me go back to my Align Parcels tool. Now with the Align Parcels tool, here is my active record. The second thing you want to understand, or maybe the first thing what you want to understand about the Align Parcels tool is that whatever is selected gets adjusted. So in this case, I don't want to adjust my CAD file to fit my old data. In this case, I'm going to toggle it and tell it instead, change my old data to fit my CAD file. And I'll make sure that it's all within that tolerance. And in this case, I see, well, that point still isn't there. So maybe I want to adjust this point and make it, see if I can get it so that it gets that. So now that point's there on here. That looks good. And I want to make sure it just doesn't cover anything else that's not in there. So once I have this tolerance where I think it should be, I can say, go ahead and generate this and show me the preview of where this should be. And I note there's one area here where this doesn't quite fit. And it could be because there's no corresponding point, because when I first went and put this in place, it wasn't a 2-point line. That was a single line. I have a couple choices in here. I can tell it, go ahead and take and snap things within 30 feet and tell it to regenerate again. Still didn't do it. I can move it back to 15 feet and tell it automatically to generate this and say, take this and move it to here. All right, let's see if the preview's on here. Still not doing it. Well, what's it doing? It's actually picking up this other point in here and looking at that and using that. Let's go back here. Let's turn off our links and our anchor points here and see. So when I clean this thing up, I didn't do a great job. I should have taken all of those lines and fixed those. Let's go in here again, merge points, and tell it to all go to 1. Now that I've got that in place, now let's go back to align parcels. All right, and tell it to take my active and switch it. And now let's see what it does when I generate those links. Still doesn't bend that to there. Let's see about creating a link by digitizing it and say this. This should go here. And there. If I turn my links back on again. All right. And say generate again so I can see again what this is going to look like. I should probably digitize that. And let's see what the alignment does on here. All right. So it looked like the alignment brought all of those in here. We still have some issues up in here we've got to deal with, but we'll work on the second part of this, which is modifying or aligning those features. Let's get off of here. Now let's go and look and see how are we going to handle this here. Well, it turns out there's a tool called Align Features, which allows us to go and define what's inside the tolerance in here. Let's change that to a 25-foot tolerance and tell it to go and move everything over there. Now, in this case, I could have just snapped that together by using the merge points. Let's go and do this anyway, just to go and see. So with Align Features, which is a great tool, by the way, Align Features uses topology. And if using topology, it's going to delete a line, it gives me this topology graph edit error, meaning topology does not allow me to go and delete a line. So I have two options with this. I can tell it no topology, or I can go back and do the merge points to do it that way. Let's go and use that. Let's go back to merge points. Under quality, merge points in here, and tell it to take these 2 points and merge them into 2. All right. So I now have got my new parcels on top. If I do a select, let me get out of merge points, go and do a select. It's selecting not just the new parcel, but also the underlying parcel, which shows me I have not gone and actually clipped this thing out yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and select the parcels that I created as part of this record, and I'm going to go and clip them. Oh, I got a problem here. Let's use merge, or let's use the align features tool to fix that problem. That is the align features. And let's go and create here. And have it go and bring that corner up to that point there. All right, and it will go and fix that. All right. Let's go and select those polygons again. Now I wanted to go and clip outside. I wanted to delete what's underlying there. In this case, since I know I've only got 2 parcel types in here, I only have 1 parcel type in there, which are parcel types, and I've got nothing underneath it, I'm going to say, just go ahead and clip anything that it's editable underneath and tell it to go and clip this out. I now have it all clipped out for me. Matter of fact, if I turn on my history, I can see here's my historic on here. The only thing I really have left to do now is to go and number these as I'm going through. And there's actually a tool called sequential numbering. And I can tell it I want to do my parcels and my name field. Let me make sure that this is on here. Name field, okay. So I can do sequential numbering and I can tell it I want to go and name it. I want to start with 1 and I want to sequence by 1. And every lot, every parcel that I go through, it's going to go and add it and rename it on here. This is the way they label these things on here. So with that, I've actually gone through many of the possible problems that you might have when you bring a CAD file in. You want to make sure that you go and make sure you understand what the CAD file is. You go and find and make sure you select the lines you want. You construct the parcels. You adjust the parcels. Oh, wait a minute. I haven't looked at quality control yet. Quality control also means not just, okay, make sure the points are correct, make sure I've gone and aligned this up correctly, but do I have any other outstanding issues? Well, inside the parcel fabric, I also have a tool for quality, which allows me to go and say, I can pull this down and I can say, show me any gaps or overlaps which might be occurring on this data as a result of this change that I've made on here. And in this case, I'm going to show my gaps as green. I'm going to show my overlaps as yellow, and I'm going to check for anything less than 6 feet on here. And it does not use topology to do this. And I can go and check, and you'll note I've got this dashed line all the way around, and it shows me I have no gaps or overlaps in this data. As I'm moving forward, let's go ahead and clear that out. It would have shown in symbology where I had the gap or the overlap, and I could have gone in and fixed that while I was doing it. So there is that final step. You always want to do quality control to make sure that everything is in place as you've got it on here. So do we have any other questions on here? Um, I see a comment on there when we were talking about the actual crosses for the corners, that in fact many surveys that are received have circular holes at the parcel corners. Yeah, in which the drafter went and clipped out, or never really, they only went and extended those lines to the actual circle. What a pain, what a problem. But eventually we'll get survey drafters to understand that there's ways to draw things that are useful across all of these components on here. All right, that's about the demo for today. Do we have any questions? If not, I hope you enjoyed the the workshop. Please come back and let us know what else we can do. Thanks.